The April 17, 2023 session of the Anne Arundel County Council is called to order. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. Ms. Pickard will lead the invocation.
Good evening. May we listen to one another intently with the purpose of bettering ourselves and our community. May we humbly accept the responsibilities assigned to us, and may we carry out each of these responsibilities to the best of our capabilities. And now the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The chair of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the Ethics website under Forms and Publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4413.
We'll now open our invitation to the audience. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the council, we did receive 2 ahead of time. They were included in a summary that has been posted online, and I believe everyone here got a copy.
Thank you. We'll now hear from individuals signed up ahead of time. I think I see one who signed up ahead of time, Mr. Svensson. Kurt? I think this is part 4, maybe? I don't know. Oh. Please remember you have 2 minutes. State your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours.
My name is Kurt Svensson. I live in Arnold. This is the final installment of my 5-part budget primer series. In part 1, I recommended the County Council invoke its existing authority to fund an organizational infrastructure that positions you to truly partner with the executive branch and more effectively engage with citizens. In part 2, the regressivity of the property tax burden was highlighted, along with a proposal to improve that, and 2 key data elements that are purposefully not disclosed were also shown as necessary to your role as a check and balance to the executive branch and as information which every citizen has a right to know. In part 3, I urged you to not only focus on interfund transfers, but also shine your light on the funds where those costs and benefits are purportedly managed. Many of the non-discretionary costs we struggle with today were born from the discretionary decisions made in the past, which are often buried in the details of these funds. Tonight's installment includes parts 4 and 5. Part 4 highlights the structural balance is not a once-a-year calculation, but a long-term, forward-looking thing that requires integrity in multi-year revenue and expenditure forecasts, consistent commitment to sound budgetary policies, and the fortitude to resist the temptation to kick the can down the road. There's examples included. Part 5 focuses on the capital budget and emphasizes the importance of the legal scope of capital projects, including 2 examples where this has been lacking: the need for more transparency in the acquisition of land, particularly for rec and parks, the historical lack of integrity in the approved capital program, including 2 specific examples. Please read the attachment to my written testimony and check out my Google site called AA County Citizen Share for more detail, and best of luck as you review the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you're retired, but maybe this government should find a way to still put you back on the payroll. So, I mean, if you're going to be down here every other Monday anyway. We'll now open this up to any individual who did not sign up ahead of time. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak before the audience, before the council? Please come forward. Your time will be limited to 2 minutes. Seeing no movement. Oh. There you go, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, 2 minutes, and you can speak to anything that's not on the printed agenda for this evening.
My name is Kenyatta Forster. I live 16 Silopana Road in Annapolis. First, let me thank you for your time and your invite. Secondly, let me say that I was the one who created both paper and plastic bags. Paper bags were first. Is this okay to talk about?
Is this?
The paper bag? Is this the
Oh,
plastic bag?
so no, there's a moment in the sequence of events tonight where you'll be allowed to come up and speak about that specific bill.
Oh, okay.
About the plastic,
Yes,
plastic
about
band
the
bag?
plastic
Yeah,
bag.
yeah, okay. No,
Okay,
no,
thank you.
Thank you. All right, the invitation to the audience is now closed. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill, or resolution or minutes constitute the reading of the whole?
So moved, Allison Pickard.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of April 3rd, 2023.
The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Smith at 7 p.m. It was opened with the invocation given by Mr. Smith and was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
You have a motion to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2023.
So moved, Allison Pickard.
Rodvian, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. The minutes of April 3rd, 2023 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 2523, an ordinance concerning general provisions, public campaign financing.
All right. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution number 1023, resolution recognizing National Therapy Animal Day in Anne Arundel County. Resolution number 1123, resolution nominating a member to serve on the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission. Resolution number 1223, resolution confirming a nomination to the Board of Trustees of the Public Library Association of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, Incorporated. Resolution number 1323, resolution approving the submission of a name for the Property Tax Assessment Appeal Board. Resolution number 1423, resolution confirming the appointments of members to serve on the Personnel Board for Anne Arundel County. Resolution number 1523, resolution reappointing a member to the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission. Resolution number 1623, resolution confirming the appointment of the Executive Director of the Police Accountability Board.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
may I make a motion to suspend the rules and hear?
Yes.
And-
So we're gonna vote on resolution 1123 later in the agenda this evening. So now I'll take the motion for 1023.
Okay, thank you. I move that we suspend the rules and hear and vote on resolution number 1023 before going on to our public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules to vote on resolution 1023.
Mr. Volkey. Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to suspend the rules to vote on resolution number 1023 first this evening has been passed.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution 1023.
Resolution number 1023, resolution recognizing National Therapy Animal Day in Anne Arundel County.
Ms. Ravia.
Thank you very much. Hopefully this will be the happiest part of our whole evening. In fact, I'm sure it will be. Resolution 1023 recognizes recognizes therapy animals across the nation, and we recognize this day on April 30th in Anne Arundel County. I'd like to just read the resolution for you. Whereas there is a growing body of research that demonstrates the many ways in which therapy animals make a difference in our lives, including improving mental wellness by decreasing fear, anxiety, loneliness, and isolation, influencing physical health by lowering perceived levels of pain and shortening recovery times, and even influencing those who are ill to have a more positive outlook about their future. And whereas therapy animal teams make millions of visits per year in settings such as hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hospice facilities, and whereas therapy animal teams interact with a variety of people in our community, including veterans, seniors, patients, students facing literacy challenges, and those approaching end of life. And whereas these exceptional therapy animals who partner with their human companions bring comfort and healing to those in need. And whereas therapy animal teams in Anne Arundel County play an essential role in improving human health and well-being through the human-animal bond. And whereas Pet Partners is a national leader in demonstrating and promoting health and wellness benefits of animal-assisted therapy activities and education, and there are thousands of Pet Partners therapy animal teams serving in communities across the United States. And whereas Pet Partners has designated April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day, now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of Anne Arundel County, Maryland, that it hereby encourages Anne Arundel County to celebrate therapy animals and their human handlers and salute the service of therapy animal teams in our community and communities across the nation. And be it further resolved that the County Council hereby recognizes April 30th, 2023 as National Therapy Animal Day in Anne Arundel County.
Additional discussion? Ms. Sommer?
I would just ask that to be added as a sponsor for this too. Thank you.
Any other further discussion? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will just say, if you've ever had the opportunity to see one of these, I don't even want to call them animals because they are so much more than that in their work. It's incredible to see how much comfort, and we actually have a dog in our police department named Comfort for that reason, to the individual who they are giving therapy to. It's really incredible, and I thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to take a photo, a selfie with Aggie, right? Is that Aggie? She's a wonderful dog, and wonderful dog, and thank you all for bringing her here. Was there another one, or was that was she only dog that came today? Okay. Seeing, and you can put me on there as a co-sponsor as well. Any further discussion? Oh.
I just wanted to mention some of the really cool ways that therapy animals have been used in our community. Young children who are struggling with literacy have developed confidence and comfort when they read to a dog for 15 minutes. And I just think that is a wonderful piece of the human-animal relationship. People in hospice care. In the recent shooting that took place in Nashville, Tennessee, therapy dogs were used to help comfort the children who were the survivors. And I don't know about you, but I think almost anything in life is better with a dog. So I'm honored to introduce this resolution and have the support of my colleagues.
Thank you. Ma'am, Madam Vice President.
Need to make it a 7-0. Can you please add me as a co-sponsor?
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 1023.
Mr. Volkey. Aye. Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 1023 has been adopted.
Thank you.
And Mr.
thank you all.
Smith, would it be all right if we brought Aggie down and some of the wonderful partners that partner with therapy animals?
No, thank you.
I just want to make sure everybody in here gets a chance to say hello to her. Remind us what kind of dog she is again?
This is a Dutch Toga Retriever.
Is that microphone on over there?
Plastic ducks. But I do want to introduce the three ladies, Susan, Jerry, and Yvonne. They've been doing this a lot longer than I, so I had the dog and I submitted it, but I want to thank them for, this is a great program. As she said, we're at hospice, we're at reading programs, and when you can see the kids just, and the people, we had a hospice situation where the lady was really, the daughter said she didn't think she'd make it through the afternoon. We were on our 7th visit, because when Aggie got there and got on her bed, she petted her, said Aggie, fed her, and everything like that. And we came every 2 days, and she stayed with us for 7 more days. So this is the kind of things that they do. Others
there's cats and other things, but we just appreciate being recognized. And again, we appreciate everything that you all do to run this county. So thank you for allowing us to be here tonight.
And what was the name of your organization on the shirt, just so people can,
What's that?
what's the organization on your shirt?
This is Caring Canines. It's kind of a subsidiary of
Okay.
Right, yes. Pet Partners is an international organization that actually certifies us and, you know, we go through evaluations with them. But Caring Canines was actually started by Dogwood Acres back in 2012. We saw that they had a lot of clients with dogs that had an outlook and a need, and so they started it, and we've continued to have it go. We're in schools, libraries, we're at the courthouse for adolescents who need help with their testifying, hospital, hospice, where, I think I hit it all, sorry.
You're everywhere.
So we have, and the county council. As of right now, we have about 20 teams of caring canines. Add more if anybody's interested.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Let's
you.
give our county a round of applause.
Thank you.
Every time.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 1323.
Bill number 1323, an ordinance concerning licenses of registrations, special events, permitting.
Mr. Barron.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Good to be here again. Joining me at the table is our Office of Emergency Management Director, Preeti Emmerich, Captain Rodriguez from our police department, Holly Velez from Inspections and Permits, and Ethan Hunt from the Office of Law. Jessica Lays is trying to make it. She had a conflict of a different meeting and is likely on her way now, so hopefully we will see her shortly. If we don't, you should have received an email from her earlier today about an amendment we'll discuss later. Also want to note, Deputy Chief Schultz is unable to join us tonight as he's out of town, but I think we've heard from him a bunch, and Captain Rodriguez will carry the water, and I'm hopeful that some of our amendments come and he'll be here for the next meeting. So just want to restate why we're here. This bill provides the county with a permitting process for special events, much like many permits that we get in the county. Our public safety agencies have a need. I think we've talked about it in previous meetings, at previous work sessions, so I won't reiterate everything, but I do want to make it clear that we're not bringing this bill before this council for any other reason than our public safety professionals have requested that we have a system to better manage large gatherings of people in this county. There have been a number of amendments that have been accepted that provide, hopefully, this council with the reassurance that the administration intends to enforce this system carefully. Everybody has the right to gather and have an event. What you don't have the right to do is create a potential danger to public safety. So just like our neighboring jurisdictions, we've brought forward legislation that I think is long overdue here in this county to provide our public safety agencies the ability to enforce best practices and good life safety regulations on big events in the county. To just recap quickly,
a couple of the pieces that have been added to the bill for the benefit of those listening. We've ensured that the shot clock, because you invest a lot of money to put together your event, we've ensured that the shot clock for your review is done expeditiously, that the county has to respond within 30 days, that we've added a provision to ensure that if there is a concern our professionals see, that the organizers are given an opportunity to remedy that concern. We've provided additional clarity on how the county will enforce this. We've removed some of the terms of why the county could deny a permit to ensure that we're focusing specifically on what matters and best way to keep our public safe. So I won't go through everything, but we've all talked about this bill a lot. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a little bit more. The admin has a couple of amendments here to further strengthen the best practices and to provide some clarity on Department of Rec and Parks sponsored events. So with that, happy to answer any questions, and we'll discuss the amendments at the appropriate time.
Any discussion from council? Seeing none, we'll now open the public hearing on bill number 1323. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the council, we did receive 4 submissions. They are all part of the summary that is posted online, and everyone got a copy as well.
We'll now hear from individuals that had signed up ahead of time. I have 3 that I'm looking at. Bruce Bariano, please come forward. John Faber and Anna Cheney. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. So let me get Mr. Bariano.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. For the record, Bruce Bariano, registered lobbyist in Anne Arundel County for the Anne Arundel County Fair. It's good to be here this evening. The Anne Arundel County Fair was established in 1952 at Sandy Point Park. And the late Louis Goldstein, who was controller of the state of Maryland, big agricultural guy, said, you need your own fairgrounds. And in the early 80s, he found some state land, which we know where it is. And the Anne Arundel County Fair moved there, and they have a 99-year lease on that state property. It's not county property, it's state property, where the landlord is the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Maryland, approved by the Board of Public Works, and they are existing under that lease. They have about 75 more years to go. I don't think I'll be their lobbyist for that period of time. But we understand that Councilwoman Rodvin and Councilman Volke will be presenting an amendment to be fair to the fair, that the Anne Arundel County Fair is part of the really the fabric of this county. I know from conversations with other people, and I'm not exaggerating, that a lot of people think that this is the best fair of all the fairs in the county, in that it's a real agricultural fair. It's not just amusements and food, but it's really emphasizing what a county fair is supposed to be. So we should take very special pride and enjoyment in the uniqueness of the Anne Arundel County Fair. I'd like to thank these 2 sponsors of the bills and other members of the council that I understand from conversations will be supporting exempting Fair Week, which is always the second week of September every year, as clear as there's a sun and a moon, and any other events and functions. That use of the fairgrounds would be dictated by what is ultimately passed here in that regard. Thank you all very much in advance, and for those other members of the council that will be supporting the fair as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Faber.
Yes, good evening. John Faber from Churchton, Maryland, in beautiful South County, a long-time county resident and president of the Anne Arundel County Fair. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill. The Anne Arundel County Agriculture Fair, which is held every September at the fairgrounds, at the site in Crownsville is the largest and longest running agriculture event in the county. Starting at Sandy Point State Park in the early 50s and moving to Crownsville in the early 80s, the Anne Arundel County Fair is enjoyed by over 25,000 attendees every September. This 5-day event highlights the many agriculture items produced throughout the county, including 4-H and FFA livestock projects and demonstrations and agricultural produce grown within the county. Add to this the many culinary delights such as funnel cakes and fried Oreos and the family-oriented carnival area, and you have an event that is indeed enjoyed by many county residents. The Anne Arundel County Fair is a nonprofit organization run entirely by volunteers. Fair sponsor events such as flea markets, tractor pulls, haunted houses and hay rides, Christmas lights display, and of course the Anne Arundel County Fair itself, held the second week of September, all are great family entertainment. The Anne Arundel County Fair also rents the fairgrounds facilities throughout the years for other events. I understand that an amendment will be offered this evening to Bill 1327, exempting the 5-day Anne Arundel County Agriculture Fair held the second week of September from this legislation. To be clear, this exemption is only for the county fair, not for any other fair-sponsored events or rentals at the fairgrounds. I appreciate your consideration of the amendment, and I look forward to the County Council's continued support and assistance with the Anne Arundel County Fair, and I look forward to seeing everyone in September at the county fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cheney.
Thank you very much. Anna Cheney, Lothian, Maryland. So my understanding of the government is that it seeks to make Anne Arundel County the best place for all. And the legislation is to address the needs and goals of the citizens of this jurisdiction to make it the best place for all. However, the vast majority of testimony that I have witnessed has been opposed to this bill or requested myriad amendments. Whether it's based upon a specific aspect of this bill or negative impacts, such as blocking a person's ability to continue their lifelong livelihood potentially, to the basic premise of inalienable rights of the citizens of Anne Arundel County. Across the board, from special event stakeholders, including professionals representing health and safety, the agriculture industry, nonprofit entities, maritime, private citizens, chambers of commerce, special event professionals, business owners, landowners, the common denominator is that they have been opposed and are opposed to this legislation. Everyone wants to be safe. And no one believes that this legislation that I have spoken with, I don't want to speak for everybody, but people that I have spoken with believes that this legislation, as written, addresses safety in a realistic, positive, functional, and fair manner. As a special event professional, having hosted more than 5,500 weddings, graduations, birthday parties, reunions, retirement, celebrations of life, bike tours for nonprofits, Taste of Southern Maryland, farmers markets, Goombay Fest, and as a participant in hundreds of markets, fundraisers, and marketing events for Anne Arundel County businesses, I am here to answer questions about the existing permitting process whereby the current applications are reviewed by health and safety officials to give us insight into how to safely and effectively manage these types of events for optimal well-being of hosts, organizers, sponsors, guests, and neighbors. 33 years in Anne Arundel County hosting events will teach a person a lot. I have not heard specifically what the county is offering to provide, and I see that there are many opportunities for improvement in this legislation. I think the premise is good. I think there are many holes. I think it has a long way to go. Appreciate 2627 amendments. Clearly, I ask you to oppose this bill with or without amendments, but please do vote for the amendments if this is going to pass. Thank you.
Thank you all. Please be seated.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I ask one question?
You sure can.
Mr. Bariano, I appreciate you referencing the lease agreement with the state, so 70 years plus. And it looks like that agreement happened to protect the fair and its growth. Is there any language in the leasing agreement that you could share that talks about safety and measures and things like that, being good stewards of the land, et cetera?
There is none specifically. It is, and I don't say this disrespectfully, a standard, cumbersome, wordy government lease document prepared by the state of Maryland, approved by the Board of Public Works. And it basically sets forth the boundaries and what the property can be used for, which is the fair and also rentals. I'm happy to get a copy of the lease to the council for your records and what have you. And it does have a provision which is somewhat standard in that it needs to be renewed every 10 years by the Board of Public Works. So we are renewed. What I did do on behalf of the fair, even though our time was not up, I did get the previous gubernatorial administration to renew it and the Board of Public Works for the 10 years after the current 10 years goes. And we're not worried about that, but there's about 77 more years left. And it's a magnificent piece of property, and just really we're very thankful to Louis Goldstein, may rest in peace, for his doing what he did and the force of his stature and his service to make it such a fair as it is. What people have loved about this fair, and I'll just stop there, there's no other fair that has a camel ride. The Anne Arundel County Fair has camels, and people like camels. No, they do. I hear it from other people, so we should be proud of our fair. And thank you in advance for being fair to the fair.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you can return to your seats. Thank you all for coming up. All right, so those were the individuals that signed up ahead of schedule. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this bill that did not sign up in advance? Please come forward. Your remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. I think we have, we have two more seats if you want to come forward. If not, this will be the last call for testimony on this particular bill. All right, sir.
My name is Johnny Howe. I live in Admiral Heights. Last time I was here, I came to talk about First Amendment concerns with the bill. The response of the Vice Chairman Picard was to laugh at the idea that the council should be careful to make sure a bill like this is First Amendment compliant. There were several supporters of the bill who came forward and mentioned the fact that other jurisdictions have permit requirements, as though two ordinances could not be distinguished as long as they were permit requirements. That is not the view that the Supreme Court has took. Neither of those are views that the Supreme Court has took. In Staub versus City of Baxley and in Shuttleworth versus Birmingham, the Supreme Court struck down very similar ordinances for giving such broad levels of discretion to county officials. When I reached out to my council representative and she went and reached out to the Office of Law regarding these Supreme Court cases, the response was that this bill didn't give the same discretion as the bills that the Supreme Court struck down in those cases. However, when I just look at the language of the bill, it not only gives pretty much carte blanche discretion to whatever county official is granting or canceling these events, it uses very similar language to the language that the Supreme Court found problematic in these cases. And so if you have 600 people with signs that a county official agrees with, and they're allowed to come have their event, but 600 people with signs that convey a message that a county official finds absolutely abhorrent, they can say, well, this event is canceled, quote, for the general welfare of the public. I'm not reading from the intent of Robert Barron or anyone else. I'm reading from the language in the bill. That gives very broad discretion to these officials, and I would really urge this council to reach out to an attorney that specializes in First Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Joe Larson. I live at 7771 Kidwell Drive, Hanover, Maryland. I'm the president of the Anne Arundel County Volunteer Firefighters Association, and I'd like to briefly do a shameless plug. It is National Volunteer Week, and all month of April is National Volunteer Month. So I'd like to give a shameless plug to our volunteer firefighters, EMS folks, and our admin members and auxiliary. I've testified over the past two meetings and continually saying, as written, the bill would have potentially have a negative impact towards our volunteer companies. There is the amendment for nonprofits that was introduced and passed. However, it still says at the discretion, I believe is the wording, and may if it benefits the county. We value all of our volunteer fire companies and would hope that there wouldn't be a picking and choosing. And some of our events, our carnivals, parades, other events, fundraisers will border and reach and probably exceed the 500 participant level. But I understand and have seen that there is an amendment proposed this evening for volunteer fire companies to have this exemption, and we hope that would meet with favorable outcome. So I know that the Renaissance Festival has been discussed at length with this bill over the past couple weeks. However, I'm still not 100% firm or 100% comfortable that our efforts with our contract with Renaissance Festival providing first aid services would be considered to be or judged to be adequate. We believe it is. We have done it for 25 years, and we have a comfortable or very good relationship with not just the Renaissance management, but the fair participants. I just conclude there's much work with the discussions with the bill, but we think we're just not there yet. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, this is my third time also. Dave Morseberger from Davidsonville, Maryland. Each of you gave your word to uphold the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution includes, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of the right of people to peacefully assemble. Prior permission and requiring a fee in this bill is abridging the freedom to peacefully assemble. From my perspective, the only acceptable resolution is, again, to flip it from a notification to a notification process from a permission process. In both cases, and I understand what the county executive office wants, in both cases they get the information they need to do an assessment to make sure that they have the proper resources available at the time of the event. And they also have the right to cancel an event based off of, is it to be a legal activity or is it going to cause harm and destruction to people or the community? The county executive's office has made it very clear they want the control. There was no attempt to compromise when the failed amendments were proposed that completely flipped or partially flipped it from a process around from notification to permission. I mean, no compromise. Another point that this bill definitely seems to like a solution looking for a problem. The county executive brought up the Astroworld event. The question really is, would this bill have saved those people at Astroworld? And the answer is no. There was a permission process in place. The authorities were notified, did an analysis, created an event operations plan with multiple eventualities, reduced the approved crowd size, and provided what they thought were the appropriate county police emergency resources. The root cause was the crowd got ugly. It wasn't that they weren't properly prepared. Of note, that was 100,000. It started off as 100,000 people. The authorities limited it to 70,000 the first night, and then that was reduced to 50,000. So we're not talking about 50 people, 500 people. This was 50,000 people at the event, and it got out of control. So the county even stated that our neighboring counties, well, we shouldn't just follow neighboring counties. We need to lead. But finally, this is not a bottle of fine wine that gets better with time. The more I look at this, the more I research it, like Astroworld, this is bad at its core, and it either must be defeated or significantly modified, at least going from a permission to a notification process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Yes. My name's Alan Lang from Pasadena, Maryland. Again, and this is my third time here. Hi. It's good to see that the large organizations all got their special exemptions, but I still, as part of the minority here, still fighting for our First Amendment rights. I believe this bill, as stated, suppresses our basic rights to assemble. The fact that the statement in the current legislation stating the requirement for the license shall not infringe on the freedom of the rights to assemble, by it not being added to this current bill, says all you need to know about the intent. So if this bill is passed, looking at the county auditor information, there were 64 parades, and now, if the cost of security is now passed on to these sponsors, it would be an average of $1,835 a parade compared to what was a $25 cost. So all of a sudden now, groups could be forced out because they can't raise the money, can't pay for the county security. So I'm asking the council, just like the others here, to either defeat this bill or to change it to an informed process, not a permission process. And also, I sent a lot of information. This bill is very flawed. The fact that it has had 20-some, maybe close to 30 amendments shows that this is a flawed bill and should be defeated. And these multiple amendments still have terms that are not identified. They conflict. They adding some of the things. They have examples of groups that could be waived. Does that mean all of these groups now are subject to the bill? Is there a conflict with Article 2 organizations in the amusement area for carnivals? Is there an area for the recs and parks? I think that might be addressed. We haven't heard yet, but there's a permit process there. So in conclusion, please defeat this bill or modify it like my colleague Dave here has said.
Thank you. Thank you. You all may return to your seats. Thank you. Public hearing on bill number 1323 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill 1323.
Bill number 1323, an ordinance concerning licenses and registrations, special events, permitting.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 23.
I'm trying to get it up on the screen. It's just not waking up, but I'm going to go ahead and read amendment number 23. This amendment exempts a special event held on property managed by or conducted along with the Department of Recreation and Parks from the requirement to obtain a special event permit when certain traffic impacts included as a part of the definition of special event will occur.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment came from discussions that we had here that there was some uncertainty that Rec and Parks events might get caught up in this bill. Rec and Parks, the Department of Recreation and Parks controls our county parks. They have a process and procedure already in place for events. And so this would ensure that as long as it is not meeting the conditions in 1111, 101, 11I2, that that would not need an additional permit for it because there's already a process.
So with Rex and Park, if the administrator on the Rex and Park side of the house receives an event that in their mind triggers alarming bells as far as maybe the scope or size of it, are those people instructed to then communicate with this staff, with OEM, to make sure that it's taken care of or issues are mitigated?
Yes. So the way it'll work, when Rec and Parks gets those events, they already work with this team, so nothing there will change.
Got it. Okay. All right. Any Ms. Pickard?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to adopt this amendment?
Oh, yeah.
I'll just make a motion to adopt the amendment, and then we can continue.
I got so tied up into it. Yes, motion to adopt. Is there a motion to adopt? Did you say?
I just made a
All right,
motion to
who's
adopt.
the second?
Ravi in second.
Ravi in second. All right. Now, did you still have further discussion?
I did. I just wanted clarification. This amendment is clarifying. This is a clarifying amendment. So if there were to be an event over 500 people impeding traffic on county roads, it still has to go through the special events permit. So this is just clarifying language of what's already in the bill again?
Most special events that occur on Department of Recreation and Parks property do not impede county roads.
Right.
So those wanted to make it clear, given some of the concerns that was expressed by this council, that this could scoop up events like that.
Understood. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Volkey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the clarification. I do support this amendment. I'm curious, it does trigger for me a question. I sort of go to schools next. Do we have any concern with them, or is that sort of already covered by other things that you have in the bill? It just seems like we're sort of thinking more broadly about other issues.
They would be covered by other portions of the bill. I had a conversation with Mr. Stansky, Mr. Ruffo a while back on
Perfect.
this.
Got you. Thank you.
All right. Any additional comments on this amendment? All right. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 23.
Mr. Volkey. Yes. Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 23 has been adopted. I'm sorry, amendment number 23 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 24.
Amendment number 24. This amendment requires the county to make available to the public any best management practices and public safety standards used to determine the required staffing for special events and requires an annual evaluation of the practices and standards.
All right, Ms. Fiedler.
This is actually an administration amendment I just signed on.
All right, Mr. Barrett.
Well, could I take a moment to just also be added as a co-sponsor to Amendment 24?
Okay. Mr. Barrett.
Sure. Thank you, and thank you to both Councilwoman Rodvian and Councilwoman Fiedler. We had extensive conversations about this provision. Appreciate the support. As the amended bill states on page 6, line 14, there is already language included about best practices, but there were some concerns that somehow the county would be making up rules, and we just wanted to make it clear that we would put publicly where and how the county was determining those best practices. And as you all know, this is an ever-evolving field as more experience is gained by our team and by events across the country and the world. Best practices do change. And so we will post publicly for folks to review. Council can see it, the members of the public can see it, and we will adhere to best practices in terms of crowd management and life safety issues that are incorporated in this bill. So please move the amendment.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Okay, is there a second?
Rodvian, second.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you. And just for the public's knowledge, I had reached out to our staff to draft several amendments related to Section 1111 and 104 that I asked questions about during the work session. The amendment that I had drafted was very specific. It referenced FEMA. It referenced a few documents within the county. And after talking to the administration, it made more sense to put it this way, more broad, but knowing that this information will be shared with the public on a regular basis so that when folks are planning an event, they can go to those documents and say, okay, here's what the guidance is on these specifics. So happy to jump on.
One thing I would ask is, as you develop the best practices, that you include stakeholders from, the universe that would be impacted by it, because a lot of times, best practices can sometimes, push an entity out of standards where they can't be utilized, and so if those standards aren't being sort of developed with a broader audience in mind, it could have negative impacts. I've seen that in industry with other certainly industries, but just wanted to make sure the broader audience and all stakeholders are included in that annual review before they're published, if you will.
We can definitely do that.
Right. Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious about the best practices. So I assume they exist already, right? I think you all have those. Is that something you're simply going to take the existing practices and put them out publicly, or is this something you'll be developing? What does that look like? I know we've talked about this a little before, but I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Excuse me. Yes, as we've discussed at the previous meetings, there's a variety of, when we get into planning special events, a variety of different sources that are used. Several of them come from FEMA's best practices regarding how to manage large-scale special events, but we look at multiple things, including looking at organizations such as the sports leagues like the NFL for managing large events like at stadiums and things such as that. So the fact that a multitude of resources are used to plan the event based off of the specific nature of what it is, it's important to recognize there's a lot. We utilize IACP, CALIA on the police side. The fire department uses a lot of their professional organizations. So, and as Mr. Smith said too, it's important to involve all of the stakeholders as we develop this and push it forward so that they know what we're using, but we're also being transparent and taking input from the stakeholders that are going to be affected by this.
I just wanted to say thank you to the administration for working with me and, I think creating an amendment that at least addressed the concerns that I had, that it makes it clear for an applicant and a permit applicant to know exactly how they meet the various requirements that are in the bill. So I feel like that was one of the concerns, is sort of this takes out the arbitrariness of decisions.
All right. Any additional, seeing no additional lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 24.
Mr. Volkey. Aye. Ms. Hummer. Aye. Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Radvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 24 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 25.
Amendment number 25. This amendment excludes from the definition of special events an activity at a private marina.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment addresses a concern I brought up at the work session. There is a clause in the bill as it reads now that excludes events that are inside businesses that are designed to contain people as a matter of their normal daily operations. Private marinas, maritime industry falls underneath that same category of, part of doing business is that there are people there. And so this, there's definitely an understanding, and I understood very clearly from the administration, and I appreciate it. There is no intent on the administration's part to swoop up the everyday business of a marina into this bill. By making it explicit, the goal here is to make sure that the maritime industry is protected, 10, 15, 20 years from now, so that there isn't gray area for a possible misinterpretation in the future.
Is there a motion to adopt? All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Barron?
Thank you. Administration respectfully requests council to reject this amendment. I think it'll come as no surprise as what I'm going to say. The number of folks is one of the factors that creates the need for a special event permit. The other factors include impeding county roadways. If the council or the additional use of county services, if the council were to adopt this amendment, a marina could have an event that spills out into county roadways or creates a need for additional county resources, and that could cause real problems in the community. So with that, we ask you to reject it. And I do want to hand it over to Captain Rodriguez to talk a little bit about experience with events at marinas, special events at marinas.
Yes, thank you. I think that Mr. Barron spoke to the main concern is there's two. The one is, how do people arrive to events at marina? It gets back to the core of why we need a special events process. They come by vehicles, creates traffic issues. There could be roadway shutdowns depending on the size of an event that could be at a marina. There's also coverage where people are coming to events potentially from the water. And I want to take everybody back about 10 years ago when we had the bumper bash that was going on in the county, and that created a great strain on public safety resources and actually involved the creation of legislation at the state level to control special events on the water, because it was an area that really was not being regulated at the time, but we were having thousands of boaters that were coming and creating events like this on the water with barges, with bands and things like that. So there's such a multitude of issues that can occur with events that are in proximity to the water or on the water that the position of public safety is going to be that those are the types of events that we're not saying no. It's that there needs to be that notification, and then there may need to be at the marina procedures that are put in place for public safety on the police, security, traffic, as well as the fire department's medical and EMS side. So that's why we would be in opposition to exempting marinas themselves.
Okay. Ms. Ledbetter.
I just wanted to point out that, I mean, if, based on the argument that what if an event were to spill out onto the public roads, the same thing could be said for an event held inside a theater, church, school, assembly hall, arena, social hall, government facility, wedding venue, restaurant, hotel, ballroom, conference center, or other like structure. What if they have something where it spills out, they have a blanket exemption for those facilities? So it just begs the question.
May I respond?
Yep, Mr. Vogt.
So
Mr. Mayor.
one thing I would say is those facilities you listed that are included in the bill are permitted for certain capacities, right? So generally, along with those, to get their permits for, call it a theater that's can fit 1,000 people, right? They have to have adequate parking for that facility. So there could be an event at a theater that attracts a little bit more than that, but at some point when they reach that threshold inside, the fire marshal will shut them down. So here again, a business, take Marina out of it for a second, a business that's having a open house because they're doing a grand opening, right, might have traffic impacts, right? In those cases, even if it is a theater that is going to create traffic impediments or need additional public safety apparatus, they might need to get a permit. Regular course of activity, no. And same thing would go for a marina. If folks are showing up, even if it's 505 people are showing up today to go out on the water, if they are not blocking traffic because they have 600 parking spots or whatever they have to deal with it, they would not be required to get this permit. What we're talking about here are the additional impacts in addition to the number of people on county services and county roadways.
Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the perfect time to take a pause with the next 3 amendments coming. This bill has been an interesting one. But our public safety and emergency management agencies came together and sought the council's support to add a proactive tool to their toolbox. It concerns me that we've been here, we have lots of amendments that have been great and they've been clarifying for the public. We've increased the number to 500, but we're getting into all these exemptions. And it concerns me that this council is spending a lot of time second guessing our public safety agencies, both their expertise and their motivations with this bill. You can't turn on the news today without hearing about a mass shooting or a structure collapse or some event that went sideways. I hope this council, I hope we can really heed the call and stand with public safety. And I do want to take a moment to thank our public safety leaders who have been here for the last 2, this is our 3rd meeting maybe on this bill, and who've really, for your steadfast reasoning and defense of the need for this legislation. And I really just want to say thank you. And I reject this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question isn't specifically about marinas, so I apologize in advance, but this spurred a question in my mind. One of my first bills in my previous term was for farm breweries. Would farm breweries and farm wineries, who oftentimes have large events that can back up traffic on county roads, would they fall under this as well?
So if it's the need for public services or if they're impeding roadways, yes. In a normal farm brewery operation, no. But if there's 1,000 people gathering there for a tasting, that is going to spill out and cause people to park on the side of a 2-lane road, they might need a permit.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I just want to go back to some of the previous amendments that clarified the shot clock that the county put in to ensure that event promoters get a answer quickly, that answer is clear, and that if there is an issue, that the promoter has an opportunity to remedy that concern. And again, those would come based on the previous amendment and the language that already existed in the bill on public safety best practices, not somebody's opinion.
All right, seeing no more lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 25.
Mr. Volkey. Aye. Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Amendment number 25 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 26.
Amendment number 26. This amendment excludes from the definition of special events the Anne Arundel County Fair and requires the organizer of the Anne Arundel County Fair to pay a special service charge.
All right. Ms. Rodvian.
Thank you. So this amendment came up after discussion about the Renaissance Festival. And when the comparisons are made, many of the reasons that supported the exception for the Renaissance Festival also exist for the county fair. It's in the same location every year. The dates are the same every year. It's been going on for a very long time. It has had a positive relationship and communication with the county. There are lots of other permits involved for various vendors. And out of a sense of fairness to the fair, I'm bringing this amendment.
Okay. Motion to adopt? Is there a second?
Ledbetter, second.
Any additional, Mr. Barron?
So I want to echo a comment Mr. Bariano made. Our fair is wonderful. We love the fair. The administration still asks this council to reject this amendment for the same rationale that we had before. Again, this bill has enough protections to ensure that folks will get their permits as long as they are operating as safe as we can. This bill provides best practices, provides for reasonable responses from the county, reasonable protections for the promoters. The fair is wonderful. It's not about the fair. It's not about marinas. It's not about anything other than large gatherings of people and impeding county roadways and the need for public services to support those events. Period. The administration opposed the Renaissance Festival amendment for the same rationale. Not because we have any issue with the Ren Fest, not because we have any issue with the fair. They're wonderful events. But there are reasons that our public safety professionals should be involved in providing guidance and support and awareness to our public safety professionals of these events and these large gatherings of people. So I won't belabor the point. I think I can count votes, but this is a bad amendment and the council should reject it.
Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the fair is fantastic, just like everybody else. But what I heard tonight is 25,000 people descend on the fairgrounds for the same week every September. That's a lot of people. I don't think there's any intent of this bill to shut down the county fair. But livestock, camel rides, 25,000 people in a given week hitting the fairgrounds, and I'm sure they do a wonderful job with
working with our public safety agencies. So I'm probably going to be the one person who, doesn't vote for this amendment, but I don't understand where this council's going with this bill, and I'm extremely frustrated with trying to understand the motivations, but I reject the amendment.
Seeing no additional lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 26.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. Amendment number 26 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 27.
Amendment number 27. This amendment excludes from the definition of special events an event or fundraising activity of an Anne Arundel County volunteer fire company.
Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is pretty self-explanatory in terms of what this event is concerned about, which is public safety. It's hard to argue that a volunteer fire company needs to be concerned about public safety. That's literally their mission. So with that, it just makes sense to me that these folks should be exempted because this could impact them with special events. Thanks.
Motion to adopt? Second?
Ledbetter, second.
Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, our volunteer fire companies are awesome. They provide an amazing service to this county. Our rationale for this bill, reason for it to be here, is not to shut down an event of a volunteer company. You heard it referenced from the chair of our volunteer association. They occasionally have parades. This bill removes the parade permit and replaces it with a special events permit. So this amendment, if adopted, could shut down a county road. No need to inform other portions of county government. Our volunteers are wonderful, and I'm certain they will do the right thing and let us know. But you are making a policy choice here that is saying that one group of folks doesn't need to consult with our police department, for example, who are the traffic experts, not our fire department. So again, this bill, just like bills in every major jurisdiction, provide a rationale, a regulatory system for permitting special events, period. They'll get their permits if they've done their plan right. The information will be public. County has to respond quickly, has to provide rationale for why, and provide an opportunity to address it. This isn't a slight on our volunteer companies. They do amazing work every day. But the council should reject this amendment.
Mr. Volkey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill started, as I understood it, as being an effort to crack down on bad actors. That was one of the things that we heard loud and clear, was there were people who were potentially doing events, who were not cooperating with the county, who were not working with the county. We had a lot of discussion about the purpose of this bill. When I step back, I don't think there's any way that any of us up here would argue that volunteer fire companies would qualify for that. And I'm not saying you're saying that, to be clear. But the purpose of the bill was never to catch all the good actors, per se. It was to try to shut down bad actors who weren't willing to work with the county. There's no way in the world that I can see a volunteer fire company not working with the county. I mean, those folks they're not county employees, but they, in some ways, fall under the county's umbrella. I mean, we insure them when they go out and do things on behalf of the county. So it's hard to argue those people aren't necessarily even kind of in-house with us. So with that, I'd urge my colleagues to consider voting for this.
Can I respond, sir? I'd like to respond.
No, go ahead.
So it's a great rhetorical device to restate our purpose in your frame. I think the administration brought this bill forward for lots of reasons. One of them, yes, was there are bad actors, but it's also about awareness of the events that are going on any given day in this county. And it's also about ensuring the best way to provide safety for our residents and the guests of this county. Again, I'm with you. I don't think anybody here at this table is concerned that our volunteers would ever do anything intentionally. They'll work with us. So why should we not have them work through us through the system that we're setting up in this bill? I just think we're picking and choosing who has to apply for a permit, and that shouldn't be what we're doing here. We should have one system for everybody.
I do have a question. And maybe the police can assist with this, has there been a volunteer firefighter special event that was conducted outside of the volunteer firefighters' location, like their facility?
Are you referring to, like, do the volunteer fire departments host events and rent their facility out to people that?
Specifically for my assumption is this isn't for people who are renting their facility. This is for the firefighters conducting events to support their operations. Can Mr. Larson come up here? Can you come up here, sir? I got a question.
Thank you.
So you're the president of the Volunteer Firefighter Association, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you all ever had events or parades outside of your volunteer firefighter stations?
We would host events at our facility. Some companies don't have the size, so they have some facilities or some areas where they would host events. Sometimes we would rent a school's facility on off times for the school to host our fire and life safety events. But for the most part, our members will have it on their owned facilities, their own grounds.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Barron, any other, or Madam Vice Chair, I see your light on.
Thank you. I just want to clarify what this amendment does. This exempts an event or fundraising activity of an Anne Arundel County volunteer fire company. So it doesn't relate back to their property or their buildings. It just means
Correct.
any event or fundraising activity. Am I reading that right?
Nope, you're reading it correctly.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Hummer?
I will echo what we all say, that our volunteer fire departments are fabulous. I have the Odenton Volunteer Fire Department in our area, which is perhaps the largest in the county, and they're fabulous, and they do amazing events. However, I also know when they do their events, the carnival, other things that they have, it definitely impacts the roads and parking, and it's crucial that they coordinate that with the local police to keep things safe. And I believe they do a good job with that. I think this is just the permitting for this for special events will just ensure that that is all coordinated between everyone, and I don't see that it will be any impediment to them continuing their very successful carnival and food truck days and all those things moving forward. So I don't see a need to exempt them from this. I don't think it will make us safer to exempt our volunteer fire departments from this simple permitting process.
Mr. Vogel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, bear with me for a second. I think the fire service in this county, volunteer fire service, has been around since at least 1910, I want to say. I think that was the first volunteer fire service that I can see on this list that I have of all the volunteer fire companies. Since 1910, Can anyone from the administration tell me if there has been a situation where there has been a carnival or a volunteer fire event where they have refused to cooperate with the county and it has created an impediment to public safety by virtue of the volunteer fire company hosting that event?
I don't know if we can pick, but I will say this, there's a carnival permit requirement.
Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number, amendment number 27.
Mr. Volkey. Aye. Ms. Hummer.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Smith.
Nay.
3 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. Amendment number 27 has been defeated.
Bill number 1323 will be held on, or heard again on May 1st. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 1923.
Bill number 1923, an ordinance concerning public safety, ban the Bag Act of Anne Arundel County.
There you go.
Thank you. So this is another one we've had several meetings on already, and it does what the title sounds like and encourages everyone to bring their own bag instead of using a single-use plastic bag, which will hopefully be banned by this law, and really not even take advantage of the paper bag, even though that will be an option under this law. Because I've had some questions via email, I wanted to clarify what the 10-cent price floor is about, why that exists. So paper bags are more expensive than plastic bags. And we've got retailers of different sizes and different magnitudes. And the reality is, whether or not we put a price on those paper bags, we're paying for them. We pay for the bags because we all know nothing in life is really free. The retailers themselves have that cost. They don't get them for free, and so they pass that cost onto us, wrapped up in the other, the sales of their business. And so this really just puts it explicitly out there. So we're saying this bag cost at least 10 cents. And in reality, my rough research on Google shows that 10 cents is actually kind of low for the cost of a paper bag, unless you're buying them in gigantic bulk, or maybe they're very small bags. This is also to put retailers of different sizes on an equal playing field. For example, the Walmarts and Costco's of the world are much more able to sort of absorb the cost of any paper bags they might use. Whereas a smaller retailer that has one location is probably operating on a much slimmer margin. So the idea here is to make sure that different retailers of different sizes are not impacted differently, that everyone sort of has a fair shot, and also to remind us that, yes, we really are paying for them. So this isn't really a new cost. It's sort of just putting a name on a cost that we already pay. And so, like I said, since folks have been asking about that 10 cents, why is this 10 cents thing in there? Hopefully it also makes us think that, hey, if we're going to the grocery store and we, come home with, say, 10 bags, that's going to add $1 to our, to our grocery bill, and $1 that's totally unnecessary if you just grab the stack of reusable bags that, I don't know if your house is like mine, but we are swimming in them at this point. They seem to be everywhere. So I probably have some to share if other folks here don't have reusable bags. So I ask for my colleagues' support.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joining me is our Environmental Policy Director, Mr. Michelson. Holly Velez from IMP has stuck around, and Lori Blair-Klausmeyer Is as far away from me as she can get. I think we've talked about this bill several times. Administration is in support. Have nothing to add to the comments we've made previously. Ready for it to be voted on or attach some amendments today, or answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Volkey?
I just want to thank my colleague from District 4 who made it clear that you can get fish in a paper bag. So thank you.
They also come as pretzels.
Is there any additional discussion or fish? Seeing none, we will now open the public hearing on bill number 1923. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
Yes, we did, Mr. Chair. Members of the council, we have received 8 submissions that are all included in the summary that's been posted online, and everyone here got an individual copy as well.
And I see we do have some folks who signed up in advance. I will call you down in the following order. Please remember 2 minutes, and state your name and address for the record. Priscilla, is that Kenya? Kenya? Brandon Mahoney? Sarah Price? Joanne Zoller? Is that, let me get Arthur Robinson? Kenyatta Forster? Okay. Always wanted to say, come on down, to that TV show, but I'm not going to say. You're not going to win anything tonight, unfortunately. Priscilla, please.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Cania. I speak in support of Bill 1923. Inertia is a body of motion that stays in motion until acted upon by an outside force. The habit of people expecting plastic bags for purchases is just that. It's a habit. In order to effectively change a habit, something needs to change. For some, this is internal. For most, it's external. Removing the bags is an option, and requiring that people purchase non-plastic bags can be that force. You, our council members, can be that force that affects change. People will be much more likely to bring their own bags. And if you don't remember, we have the Sierra Club survey results that shows it really makes a dramatic difference. There were no plastic bags at grocery stores when I grew up. Sadly, we have adopted them into our culture. In fact, department stores sold shopping bags that were repeatedly used when I was a kid. They were used for years. So whenever I discuss this subject with people, the universal comment is, I can't believe they're still available here. Sadly, we're late adapters on this, but we can change that now. Please support the Bring Your Own Bag bill. Thank you. And I will say that if Mr. Volkey supports this, as he implied last time, I will personally buy you your own customized, reusable bag that says, I bring my own bag to you. I promise. Thank you.
Thank you. Brendan? Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Council. Brendan Mahoney here representing the Restaurant Association of Maryland and our members here with Anne Arundel County locations. I first want to thank Councilwoman Fiedler and Councilwoman Rodvian for introducing Amendment Number 7 that would exempt restaurants from being required to charge the bag fee. This amendment's a great compromise. When speaking with our members over the past couple weeks, something they universally agreed on was they do not want to be required to charge this bag fee. So I won't beat a dead horse and would just refer back to my testimony 2 weeks ago that outlined why it's impractical for restaurants to charge the bag fee. And with that, thank you for your time, and please vote yes on Amendment Number 7.
Thank you. Ms. Price?
Good evening, council members. My name is Sarah Price, and I'm here on behalf of the Maryland Retailers Association. Thank you for your continued attention to this issue and for hearing us out, as we were very supportive of the 10-cent fee, so we appreciate that that has remained in the legislation to this point. I would like to thank Councilmember Rodvian and Chair Smith for introducing Amendment Number 8, which addresses our remaining concern about the signage language in the bill. I think what has been proposed is a great compromise. We're totally on board, and we would urge your favorable vote on Amendment Number 8. Finally, thank you for bringing this up about 3 hours earlier this evening as compared to last time. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Ms. Zoller.
Hi, my name is Joanne Zoller, and I live in Glen Burnie. I'm speaking in support of Bill 1923, the Ban the Bag Bill. I participated in the observation of grocery store customer behavior regarding plastic bags in several different grocery stores in Anne Arundel County. It was interesting to see the variety of options used by the customers. Some customers use reusable bags. Some used paper bags where they were available. Some used no bag at all, but the clear majority were using free plastic bags. I have to admit, it was a little difficult watching some shoppers emerge with at least 25 plastic bags of groceries in their cart. It was difficult because I know that a very small percentage of these bags would be recycled. Most residents would either throw them away, perhaps after one more use at home, or if they're conscientious, return them to the grocery store. Unfortunately, a very small percentage of those bags are recycled, and the plastic bags that are sent to landfills do not biodegrade. They just break down into smaller pieces of plastic and just blow into our waterways and our trees. Let's face it, there is no good solution to what to do with the 215 million plastic bags used and discarded in our county each year, and it's killing us because it has been documented that we have been ingesting this plastic. It's also killing the fish in our rivers, streams, and bay. Plastic is not good for living things. That's why I support banning the distribution of plastic bags in Anne Arundel County. We have plenty of data from our neighboring counties and municipalities that plastic bag bans work, and we know how much to charge for the paper bags. We know what to do. Let's do it.
Thank you. Mr. Arthur. Bernie.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. I'm Bernie Robinson, lead for the Anne Arundel Group Sierra Club Zero Waste Team. Speaking in support of Bill 1923 as amended April 3rd, and on behalf of the Anne Arundel Sierra Club members and supporters. If you recall, I spoke at the last hearing regarding supporting the bill. Therefore, this will be my brief but spectacular version. As a reminder, plastic bags pollute our lands and waterways. They are unsightly and lower the quality of our communities. I can walk along the B&A hiker-biker trail and see multiple plastic bags dangling from the trees, another one blocking the view of a lone daffodil. I have watched another work its way over days from upper branches to lower, finally to drop down into Marley Creek headwaters, just below the B&A Trail Bridge. In a few weeks, unfortunately, while kayaking our waterways, I know I will see many cousins of that bag, ugly cousins, submerged, floating along our shorelines. Furthermore, plastic bags are not an economic or environmentally safe alternative to plastic. They're very costly to both retailers and consumers. That financial burden should not be carried by those with reusable or no bags. Paper bags are costly in reducing carbon sequestration from trees and exact significant environmental costs in production, such as machinery in felling trees, toxic chemicals in production, and water pollution and air and pollution from transporting them. Hybrid bring-your-own-bag policies such as this have proven most effective in shifting shoppers from accepting plastic and single-use paper bags to bringing reusable bags or taking no bag. They change shopper expectations and behaviors. It is time for Anne Arundel County to incentivize reusable bags. Anne Arundel County Sierra Club and its thousands of members urge you to support Bill 19.3 as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Forster.
Hi, my name is Kenyatta Forster. I'm resident of Annapolis, Maryland. First, let me thank you for your time and your invite. Secondly, let me say that I was the one who created both paper and plastic bags. Paper bags were first, but they were very cumbersome. I was paid for the creation and was born in Annapolis, and I cannot believe that this is happening here. The impacts to the citizens and businesses are enormous. Costs to the businesses could possibly mean they won't participate in our economy. Businesses are constantly looking for not only the cheapest way to do business, but the easiest. The most valuable and cost-effective places win. We don't need to add to our list of constraints. Please stop. Our citizens enjoy the product of choice. We are becoming more recycle-friendly, so I think a preference should be recommended. I don't know the impacts to the recycle operation, but I like the preference of choice. Sometimes I'm plastic and other times I'm paper. I don't own many of the reusable totes at this point, but I am 100% recyclable. We are in a competition with other jurisdictions regarding our commitment to our economy. We have employment opportunities because the businesses consider our appeal. Let's continue to be a place that is business and recycle friendly. I'm a huge fan of the environment, and I think we are doing an excellent job. This may cause more problems than we've considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony. Please return to your seats. I think we have one more that signed up in advance. That's John Breen. Or Bryn. And if there's anyone else that would like to testify in reference to this bill that did not sign up in advance, please come forward at this time. We'll close public testimony after this brief or after this panel. All right, Mr. Bryn.
And Crystal Drive in Annapolis. This is quite similar to the testimony I've given earlier. I speak to support 1923 and Lisa Rodvins and the council's work on this. I've submitted written testimony, so I'm just going to briefly cite several facts. DAD has established that between 4 and 12 million metric tons of plastic enter the ocean each year. The fear is that without regulation or limitation, that could triple over the next 20 years. There's evidence that microplastics have been found in human blood. A study in Denmark has established the findings of 17 out of 22 human people tested were positive for these plastic particles in their blood. Human plastic particles have been found in human breast milk as a mother nurses his mother, as a mother nurses her child, her infant. That's been found somewhere around 3 cases in studies and published in a national journal of polymers. I come from Connecticut. I called my friends and asked them to bring this in their state, and they laughed at me and they said, "Oh, Connecticut passed that bill and outlawed plastic bags on July 1st, 2021. You never can be too early to the party, but other people have beat us, and I encourage you to support Lisa's hard work." She even sent me an email to remind me to please come and testify. So I hope I was more impressive this time, Lisa. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
I've testified a lot of places, but I'm so impressed by the quality of people who serve on this council, have regular day jobs to make a living at minimum payment for the hours they serve and work to give service to Anne Arundel County. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I haven't seen this quality of service in any other county that I've been in. I want to thank you for your time and what you've done here.
Thank you.
I am very much impressed.
Appreciate it. All right, the public hearing on bill number 1923 is now closed. All right. Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 1923.
Bill number 1923, an ordinance concerning public safety, ban the Bag Act of Anne Arundel County.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 7.
Amendment number 7. This amendment excludes food service facilities from the requirement to charge at least 10 cents for each paper carryout bag and reusable bag that it provides to a customer.
Ms. Rodvin.
Thank you. I believe Ms. Fiedler and I were both working on a similar concept, and we were joined together to realize, like, hey, let's just put this in a single amendment. So thank you, Ms. Fiedler, for joining with me for what we've got here. This was generated not only from the testimony of the Restaurant Association, but actually a small business restaurant owner in District 6 who wrote to tell me that his restaurant had switched to paper bags a long time ago. And really, because we are not in a place where people are yet bringing reusable bags to take their carryout, or to take their leftovers home, which, hopefully someday we'll be so accustomed to carrying reusable bags around with us that we'll get to that point. But since that is, really not the habit now, and when a server is calculating a bill at the end of the meal, it can be, it can be time cumbersome. You know how times you're waiting for your bill at the end of a meal, and you're trying to catch your server, and to have to go through that to add a small amount to the bill in a situation that's very different from other retail establishments. So that's the genesis of this amendment, and I ask for your support.
Ms. Fiedler, did you want to say anything?
Thank you. Yes. I came to this amendment from actually a different perspective. I had several restaurants reach out to me, and their concern was that folks would bring a reusable bag that had been recently used in purchasing raw meats or other contaminated products, bags not properly clean. Restaurant puts the to-go food in, French fry falls out. I'm guilty of eating that French fry that fell out at the bottom of the bag. And if you're eating it and it's been in contaminated products, there's no way to identify where that contamination came from. So I thought that seemed reasonable, and I'm glad we met up and did this one together.
All right. Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Ledbetter, second.
All right. Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no opposition to this amendment. Understand the concerns that were addressed. No opposition.
Okay. Any additional comments, Mr. Volk?
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understand this. So any retail establishment that is a food service facility does not have to charge the 10 cents, but they can charge the 10 cents. Is that right? Okay. But any other entity in the county except for the school system has to charge 10 cents.
Correct.
Okay.
Any additional comments? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 7.
Mr. Volkey? No. Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Amendment number 7 has been adopted.
All right. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 8.
Amendment number 8. This amendment requires a retail establishment to post notices at the public entrance to the establishment or at each point of sale that advises customers to bring or purchase a carryout bag, requires the notices to be in English and Spanish, and requires the county to post an example of the notice to be used by retail establishments on the county's website.
Ms. Ravian.
Thank you. I'm hoping this is the second example this evening of great minds think alike. And Mr. Smith and I, just like Ms. Fiedler and I, were working on similar amendments after hearing feedback from the community. We realized we were doing essentially the same thing, and we worked to kind of merge our 2 amendments into a single amendment. We heard from the Maryland Retailers Association that really just asked for a simplification. And that's what this amendment does. It basically, rather than having to go through maybe a somewhat tedious process if you don't, have regular access to census data of identifying the languages. And in reality, in my brief search, again, my brief search indicated that besides English, the only other language in Anne Arundel County that is reaching a level of about 5% is Spanish. We do have other languages spoken, but they're all 1% or under. So we're covering a much larger group when we talk about English and Spanish, and that is in no way to minimize other languages. but it also is to recognize that, retail establishments need a little bit of guidance, and this also asks for the county to provide sort of model language that a retailer could use, although they could create their own language if they wish. So I again ask my colleagues for their support, for your support.
Yeah, I think for me that the sort of genesis of this was I wanted to simplify it for the retailers. When I go to a grocery store and if they have the requirement to put signage on every single register, we've got 50 registers. One of the things we didn't specify in the bill was, do we ever remove it? So it only says you have to place this, so that doesn't mean forever. And so I thought a sign at the entrance particularly was sufficient. The other piece is they're only going to have paper bags in there. So it's not like they're going to have a choice between paper and plastic. So if I'm at the register and I go to put groceries in and they go to put groceries in the bag, it literally is only going to be paper as an option going forward. And so for me, this just made it easier for the retailers to create an environment that was flexible to the individual stores and how they wanted to either post that signage at the door or leaving them the option to do it at the register, but not forcing them to do it at the register or at the point of sale, I should say, which is basically at the cash register for all of them. And so that's where I was coming from with this this language. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
All right. There's a second. Mr. Barrett?
No opposition.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Madam Secretary, any additional comments? Seeing no red lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 8.
Mr. Volpe.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer. Aye. Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Piggard.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 8 has been adopted.
Bill number 1923 will be heard on May 1st, 2023. All right, Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 2023.
Bill number 2023, an ordinance concerning pedestrian and bicycle master plan, walk and roll Anne Arundel, adoption.
All right, Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joining me at the table is our Transportation Director, Mr. Sneed, also from his team, Mr. Ulrich and Ms. Osman. We had, and Miss Blair Klausmeyer all the way down there. I'm just teasing Ms. Klausmeyer. We had a great work session on this. I think y'all, and if for members of the public that want to see the presentation our Transportation Department gave, you can go back and watch the work session. In the interest of time, we're not going to make you relive that presentation, but I know I think the feedback I got from all of you afterwards and in the discussions that we've had since the work session, you saw exactly the rationale and the reasoning behind this plan and all the work that went into it. So I want to thank the team from Transportation for bringing this forward, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Sneed for a couple of comments, and then if he wants to pass it down the table, you can.
Sure. Thanks for taking the time to listen to our presentation individually and then at the work session. Also, this time Tanya is available and she's here. I want to commend her because she worked on this project for 18 months, engaged the public both online and in person in order to get a lot of comments for the plan. So we had a lot of public interaction about specific routes and really connecting throughout the county. This plan is about due to be updated. It's 10 years old. We want to make sure that we are up with the times, and our county really is affecting change to create accessibility for all in the county. I'll pass it down to Brian.
Yep, it's on. There it is.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tanya, and this was a labor of love for me. Even though I worked on it for 18 months, we were thinking about it for a long time before that, and I wanted to point out that a couple of things. It is trying to build out a low-stress network that will capture the biggest population, those that are interested but concerned. As part of our survey, that's what Anne Arundel County citizens said, and that's consistent with the national numbers as well. To do that, we need to build in shared use paths, separated bike lanes, things that really provide a lot of level of comfort for road users, both pedestrians and cyclists. And finally, I wanted to point out that this plan, unlike the 2013 update, encompasses now the entire county, not just those areas that were planned for water or sewer service. So that was something we heard a lot from South County, and then up and through the Crownsville corridor, they had been excluded. So this encompasses everybody now. So thank you. And I wanted to point out that Bike to Work Day is May 18th. So if any of you want to participate, we'll be holding something downtown Susan B. Campbell Park.
I'm sure Mr. Corwin will email all of us. He's been
yes.
He's definitely hardworking at that. Also, at least we know what you were working on during the pandemic. So this was your baby project.
Yes.
Any additional comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Vice Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your light's on. I didn't know.
Oh, I really just wanted to say thank you. Again, my colleagues have, I don't have my book sitting here, but it's about this thick. So if there's any doubt about the amount, thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Ledbetter. If there's any doubt, the sheer volume of information and detail that went into this plan, I think, is evident simply by its size. So thank you so much for doing it, and for the Crownsville area and other parts of the county that had been previously left off. Thank you so much for including them. I look forward to this network being fully built out because I love riding my bike instead of driving my car places.
Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just also wanted to echo my thanks to the team, and it's nice to meet you, Tanya. Good work. And my constituents, I've actually had people reach out to me this week regarding this plan, which is kind of cool, from District 2, cyclists and folks that are very interested in sidewalk connectivity between school and home. And so thank you. Thank you for your hard work. It's a great plan.
Thank you. I appreciate you recognizing Bike to Work Day. I was able to participate a few years ago in Bike to School Day, which was a phenomenal and outstanding experience. I've never seen kids arrive at schools so energized. It would be nice if we could say that, for every day that we go to work. So thank you. Your baby is impressive. And thank you for putting in all of that effort.
All right. Thank you.
Motion to adopt?
No, this is.
Oh, did we already do that?
Yeah. We're not on amendments.
My apologies.
No. We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 2023. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
We did not receive anything ahead of time, Mr. Chair.
And I believe we have one person that signed up ahead of time, Mr. Corrin, if you wanted to come forward. Is there? And if there was anyone else that would like to testify on this bill that did not sign up in advance, please come forward. We're going to close the public testimony after this panel.
Well,
right,
thank you all. I feel like I'm joining the pep rally. I also want to thank Office of Transportation, especially Tanya, for great work here, and Tool Design, the consultant that we used. I worked on the project team, and as I think you all know, I'm President of Bicycle Advocates for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, Bike AAA. I chair the County Bike Commission, and I also serve on the County Transportation Commission. So I am all in on multimodal transportation. In 2019, the County Council adopted Move Anne Arundel, Strategic Transportation Plan for the county, unanimously, and it calls for quantitative change in our modes. It calls for quantitative goals countywide and greater goals in the town centers to get people out of single occupancy vehicles and walking, biking, using transit, carpooling, any of the other modes. But we know that won't happen unless we make it safe for them to do so. And so I have an easy ask and a hard ask. The hard ask is the one that's got the real impact. But first I want to remind you why this is so important. Traffic reduction. So even for people that never bike and walk, traffic reduction is a big advantage for them. Protect our environment, advance population health, and provide equitable and affordable ways to get around the county. We've got to create more places where we can live, work, and play without daily car use. So the easy ask is adopt this plan. The hard one is help us implement this plan. This plan, for example, calls for changes in our code. Our code is still very, very automobile-centric. We just, by commission, just sent a note in to the administration identifying where we've got to change code. I enlist your support in that endeavor, and the budget has to support this. If we want to change mode, our budget needs to align to mode change. So, easy ask and a hard ask, and I know I can count on you all for both. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Please be seated. All right. Public testimony hearing on Bill number 2023 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 2023.
Bill number 2023, an ordinance concerning pedestrian and bicycle master plan, walk and roll Anne Arundel, adoption.
All right. Is there any final discussion? Mr. Hummer?
I just want to say I've met Mr. Cornyn several times, but this is the first time I have seen him without a bicycle helmet on. And so I didn't recognize you right away because I've always seen you with a helmet. That shows the dedication there. Thank you for all your work and helping the team with this.
I felt like I was in a safe environment.
Any other additional comments? Mr. Barron, anything?
I think you heard it from Mr. Corn. The hard work comes next. This is the easy vote.
Check. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 2023.
I'm going to come back to Mr. Volke. Ms. Hummer? Aye. Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Well, I'm sorry, we have one absent, but we have 6 in the affirmative, so Bill number 2023 has been passed.
Thank you. Is that an aye on 20?
Changing the vote from absent to yes for the record, and still we have Bill number 2023 has been passed, this
Thank
time
you.
7-0.
Madam Vice Chair? Ms. Pickard, did you want to say something? Oh. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 2123.
Bill number 2123, an ordinance concerning zoning requirements for conditional uses, housing for the elderly of moderate means.
All right, Mr. Barron?
Thank you. Ms. Sorrow is making her way up. Ms. Blair Klossmeyer is sticking with us. So we discussed this bill at the work session. 2123 amends our zoning requirements for housing of elderly of moderate means to conform our code language more closely with federal requirements for HUD dollars. As we discussed at the work session, the current federal requirements for certain funding streams require a little bit more flexibility in elderly of moderate means housing. Requirements for federal funds only require that the head of household meet the age and financial requirements to have access to federal dollars, not the rest of the household. These changes will only apply to developments funded in whole or in part by federal government funds contingent on these requirements. We're happy to answer any questions and appreciated the discussion of the work session, and we'll ask that you pass this bill tonight.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no lights. We will now open a public hearing on Bill number 2123. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
Yes, we did, Mr. Chair, members of the council. There was one submission that's included in the summary that is posted online, and everyone here did get an individual copy as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I did not see anyone that signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on Bill 2123? Seeing no movement, the public hearing is now closed on Bill number 2123. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 2123.
Bill number 2123, an ordinance concerning zoning requirements for conditional uses, housing for the elderly of moderate means.
All right. Any, Madam Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, this is sort of a part 2 to a bill that I was involved with a couple years ago. hoping we can get full support for housing issues. I know our ACDS has been updating our information about our lack of affordable housing in this county, and I believe I was just told we are lacking over 9,000 rental units. The projects that will come through the programs like Elderly with Moderate Means are going to bring 50 units, 60 units, a scattering of units over time based on our very rigid zoning codes and funding. So making sure that we align with our funding sources is extremely important. We have an aging population and we have a lack of housing of all kinds. But this should be an easy vote as we support our most vulnerable elderly neighbors. They are our parents, they are our grandparents, and everyone deserves quality housing. So I hope we can get a 7-0 vote on this bill tonight. Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on bill number 2123.
Mr. Volkey. Ms. Hummer. Ms. Fiedler.
Just point of privilege here. So just to explain my vote, in 2019, Bill 9719 changed the ability to have housing for those of elderly and moderate means because it changed the special exception use to conditional use. And I heard overwhelming concern from the district, but at that time, there was assurance that school-age children would still not be able to live in any of these units. And I absolutely recognize the need for housing for our elderly folks. It's one of the reasons I supported the ADU bill. But out of consistency with my previous vote and concerns from the district, I'm going to have to be a nay here. Thank you.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Bill number 2123 has been passed.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 523.
Resolution number 523, resolution approving the determination of certain improved county-owned property known as 100 Summit Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland as surplus property.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joining me at the table is Ms. Harold, our Director for Central Services, and Mr. Walker from the Real Estate Division, and Ms. Blair Klausmeyer down at the end of the table. So I think we discussed this one at the work session, but to remind the public, this is the first part of a two-step process for surplusing county property. 523 deals with a 0.34 acre property located near 100 Summit Avenue in Glen Burnie in Councilman Volkey's district. Our real estate folks are here to answer any questions. They have canvassed county agencies, identified no county need for the property. As if the council adopts this resolution, as we hope you will tonight, the county will begin to conduct appraisals and solicit bids, and then it will need to come back before the council if the county decides to move forward with actually disposing of the property. If I got anything wrong, please correct me, Mr. Walker, but I think I covered it, and hope you'll move it, and any questions, happy to answer.
Any additional discussion? All right, seeing no lights. We'll now open a public hearing on resolution number 523. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
We did not receive anything ahead of time, Mr. Chair.
I also don't see anyone that signed up in advance. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak and speak on resolution 523? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on resolution 523 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution 523.
Resolution number 523, resolution approving the determination of certain improved county-owned property known as 100 Summit Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland as surplus property.
Is there any final discussions? Seeing no lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 523.
Mr. Volkey. Aye. Ms. Hummer. Aye. Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 523 has been adopted.
Thank you all. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution number 823.
Resolution number 823, resolution approving the nomination of Tony Gedden as acting health officer.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you. And as Ms. Gedden makes her way up, want to bring forward Resolution 823, which appoints Tony Gedden as acting health officer. She joined our team in May of 2020. I don't know if you all recall, there was a little global pandemic going on at that time. She stepped in and was instrumental in the county's pandemic response. Her work on our county's Healthy Communities program has proven invaluable to promoting equitable access to health care for members of our county. She's here to answer any questions, but I'm going to take a quick moment of privilege to gush. I got to know Ms. Gedden a little bit, and her calm commitment to public health is something that amazes me. And my father was actually at an event last week, and your old boss was there. Not our former health officer, but a boss from a previous job, and he gushed to my father about how lucky we are. So please appoint Ms. Gedden, and please, your chair.
Yeah, I'd just like to take the time to thank you all for meeting with me over the last couple of weeks, just to get an opportunity to know you a little bit more, understand your concerns and your constituents' concerns for their health and safety within the county, and to understand a little bit of what we're prioritizing in the health department right now. So thank you all for your time, and I look forward to hopefully serving the county in this capacity moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Barron, quick question. Just from a process standpoint, I think I know the answer, but just for the public, how long can someone serve in an acting capacity?
So we changed the rules. It's 6 months. Or no, this is because it's a state. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Blair Klassmeyer, because this one does not actually operate like typical departments. So
Check.
Ms. Klassmeyer will give you the correct answer.
Lori Blair Klessmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. And this is why I should sit at that end of the table. So the health officer is actually a state appointment, so it doesn't come under the charter provision that limits the time for acting. So there is nothing in the state law that would limit the time for acting for a health officer.
Okay, good. It's good to know. It's,
You know I always have something to say. I actually was at an event where Ms. Gedden was speaking maybe a month or two ago, and this was after we knew that Dr. Kalyanaraman was going to be appointed by the state, and I was just listening to her speak thinking it would be so great if they appointed her, and I really had no idea that that was even in the works, and I'm thrilled that that is happening.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing none. We will now open the public hearing on resolution number 823. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
We did not receive anything, Mr. Chair.
I also didn't see anyone that signed up in advance. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak in reference to 823 resolution? That's good. That's right. We'll now close the public hearing on resolution number 823. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 823.
Resolution number 823, resolution approving the nomination of Tony Gedden as acting health officer.
Any final discussion? Seeing no lights. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 823.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 823 has been adopted.
Thank you. Congratulations and welcome. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 1123.
Resolution number 1123, resolution nominating a member to serve on the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission.
Ms. Hummer.
Yes, I ask my colleagues to support Donna Rober for the nomination for the Ethics Commission. She has a long history of serving, both through her time in the Army and then at the NSA, and the all-important willingness and desire to continue serving the county to the best of her ability. So I ask everyone to support her. Thank you.
Thank you. He dipped out. Is there any further discussion? We will now open the public hearing on resolution number 1123. That's right. It's the council's.
Yeah, it's a council
Yeah.
decision. So you send this, and the county exec will actually bring the appointment forward.
Correct. I'm just used to calling your name. That's all. It's habit. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 1123.
Mr. Volkey. Aye. Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Smith. Sorry, goodness gracious. Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
That's like John Doe, right? And Mr. Smith.
I mean, we could be married. It's okay. That is an aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 1123 has been adopted.
It's a good day. I'm just sad that I got denied. I didn't even have the opportunity. Is there any other business to be brought before the county council at this time? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in
Third,
favor?
fourth.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, okay. The motion carries. The county council is adjourned until May 1st, 2023. On May 1st, we will begin our day in these chambers at 11 a.m. with the county executive's presentation of the proposed FY24 budget. Our regular meeting will still begin at 7 p.m.